Hi everyone, Andrea Mills here. Today I am going to do a review of the ACE curriculum, and in case you're looking for something in particular, I'm going to put a list up right here of all the main topics that I'm covering and what time they are in the video. So if you want to just skip ahead to something in particular, you can do that. Otherwise, you can start right here at the beginning and we will cover a lot of things with this video. I'm going to be upfront here and say that I have never used any other curriculum, so I cannot do any sort of comparisons between ACE and something else. I went to an ACE school and my husband and I were happy with ACE, so that's what we've used with our own children. But if you're looking to compare it to something else, I'm not going to be able to help you out with that, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start first with sharing my own ideas about education, and the main one is that school, I think, is just to teach the 3 R's, the reading, writing, and reckoning. And once you have those skills, it really does not matter beyond that what a curriculum does for you, because you're going to be able to find anything and learn from it. It's really important to me for my kids to be great readers, and I hope that they continue to learn well beyond school. So ACE for us is just a tool we use to teach our kids those 3 R's. Now, beyond that, the real education, I think, happens when it comes to the idea of having good judgment or logic. And by that I would mean, you know, one example would be being able to tell the difference between, say, a pine tree and a cedar tree, or the difference between something that's right and something that's wrong. The difference between facts and opinions, and really the ability to make the right decision or the right choice based on the information you have, because we're all operating in a world where we have limited knowledge about things, and everyone, no matter what curriculum you use, is going to have their biases and their ideas about things, and you're never going to get away from that. So to me, education is just a very small sliver of what we are worried about in our day, or what we do in our day. And by education, I guess I mean the actual sitting down and doing schoolwork. I want to get that done as fast as possible and get on to things that we care about. If you have the idea that being educated means that you know a lot of things, then you have to hope that everything you've ever learned is true and correct from birth on. Because if you have not learned good judgment, you're going to be both uninformed and uneducated. So I guess my point here is that I don't really care what the curriculum is teaching so much as I care that the kids learn how to learn. I feel ACE does a fine job of that, but beyond a curriculum, I think it's the atmosphere of a home that is the most important. And so really, I would be probably happy with any curriculum, because I think anything is going to be useful as long as you use it wisely and use it correctly and be a thoughtful person. It doesn't really matter what books you use. They're just the tool to make the mind, to educate the mind. So why do I personally like ACE? The first thing I would have to say is because it is self-paced and self-instructional. So it's something that I can I give the curriculum to the kids, and they work pretty much independently, and they go at their own speed. If they're struggling with something, we spend a little extra time on it, and if they are doing great, they just whiz on through. But everything is explained in the pace itself, so I don't have to be the teacher to everyone. Everyone's working independently, and that really frees me up. I don't have to try to juggle back and forth between a bunch of kids. They just come to me when they need help with something, but the pace has all the instruction in it, and there's no teacher books or anything like that. So it's all just self-contained within that one little booklet, and that makes everything very simple. The second thing that I like about ACE is that it doesn't have to take all day. Sometimes it does, because sometimes somebody is having one of those days where they're just not getting things done. But generally speaking, we can get school done very quickly. So my oldest son is right now in 8th grade, and he takes probably about 4 to 5 hours a day to get his schoolwork done. But my younger kids, I have a 1st grader, 3rd, 5th, and 6th this year. The rest of those guys can usually be done in about 2 to 2.5 hours. So school goes by very quickly, and that's something I really like because we have other things I want to do with my time besides just getting schoolwork done every day. Third thing I like is that ACE is very affordable. We personally set aside $100 a month for our kids' curriculum, so that's $1,200 a year, and that's enough to buy the curriculum for each one of the kids, plus the score keys that we're going to need for our oldest son, because you know we reuse them with the younger kids, so it's just the ones we need for our oldest son each year. And then it always leaves a little left over for buying new books and things like that that we want. So it's a very, I guess, affordable curriculum. I've heard other parents be very surprised when they hear that, so I don't actually have any experience of buying something else, so I'm not sure, but I've heard that compared to a lot of things, it's a good price. Now, fourth, this is probably my absolute favorite part of ACE, and that is the character traits that they have in the curriculum itself. And this is completely separate from the actual educational or academic teaching, but they have a series of characters in the paces, and they have little cartoon strips, and these cartoon strips have each one, like each pace focuses on a single character trait, and the little characters just act out little scenes, and they are, you know, hopefully getting your kids to think about their character. And this was really valuable to me growing up. It also kind of provides I don't know what you could say, fake little friends for your kids, because the characters in the paces are always the same age as your child. So as they grow, the characters are growing also, and it's kind of like, you know, you're growing up with these friends. And I remember when I graduated from school feeling a little sad that AC and Christy and all of them were not going to be part of my life anymore. Okay, so now for some of the things that I dislike about ACE. The first one would probably be that it's a disposable curriculum. So once we use up a pace, unless you wanted to try erasing the whole thing and getting rid of all the pin marks and all that, you just throw it away. So it would be nice if it was reusable, but again, as I said, it was pretty affordable, so it's not that big of a deal. And I myself have come up with some ways to reuse some of the stuff in the younger years so that I don't have to keep buying it over and over again. You can check out some of my other videos. I think I might have some of those things talked about on other videos, so if you're interested in finding out about that, you can look at those. The number two thing would probably be that I personally disagree with some of the theology in the paces, and specifically the Bible prophecy kind of ideas that come through. But I know that my family thinks a lot differently on that topic than probably most other Christians do, so most people would probably be perfectly fine with it, but it's just something that we personally disagree with, and it's not that big of a deal because, you know, our kids know what we think, and when it comes up in the paces, we talk about it, and it's not that big of a deal. So there you go. Okay, well, number three would probably be the same thing in regards to some of the science and history. There's nothing controversial at all in the paces, I don't think. I personally don't agree with some of the things, which seems kind of weird, and I'm not going to go into all that. But here's the thing I want to say is that even if I wrote my own curriculum, my husband would probably disagree with half of what I wrote. So these disagreements are very minor things and not something at all that would cause me to want to not buy the curriculum over. So it's, again, not a big deal because we don't agree with everybody on anything, even our own spouse. So that should not be a deterrent to you using ACE or any other curriculum for that matter. Okay, now I'm going to talk about my experience as a student in an ACE school. I started in an ACE school when I was in 4th grade, and then I went all the way through till graduation. And I would invite you to judge for yourself what kind of a person I am. You can watch my other videos and just get a feel for who I am and know that I'm a product of an ACE school. The most important thing to me being in an ACE school was, as I've already mentioned elsewhere, the character traits. It was so it so shaped who I am as a person. The character that I learned through the little cartoons and things, and especially in high school, in the English paces, in each pace there is a wisdom insert, and it's actually like a little booklet type thing, and each one would cover a different topic that was pertinent to growing up, and it was really helpful to me. I've actually said in the past, which don't tell my mom and dad, actually my mom's dead so you can't tell her, but don't tell my dad that I said this, but I grew up in a Christian home, but the things I learned in the paces were far more valuable to me as far as shaping the kind of a person I am than the values that my parents taught me, because they, you know, I guess my parents were just typical, we go to church on Sundays, but God's not really that big of a deal in our lives other than that, and I really do attribute so much of who I became as a person to the character that I learned in the paces. So I can't overemphasize that enough as far as what is so great about ACE. One of the things I loved about going to an ACE school is that I could finish my work as quickly as I wanted to, and many days I was done by lunchtime. Even in high school, my last year of school, I taught kindergarten in the mornings and did all my schoolwork in the afternoons, and that's just something I really like. I like to be efficient, and I don't want to waste my whole day doing stuff that I don't care about or don't need to do when I have other things that I'd rather be doing. So I really liked that I didn't have to wait for a classroom, which of course if you're homeschooling that's not going to be the case anyways, but I just really loved being able to control how fast I got things done and get on with my day. On that note, I actually finished high school a year early, so I was only 16 when I graduated because I hustled and I got things done because I wanted to get on with life. So that's always an easy option when you're using ACE. If you have somebody who's really motivated, they can just truck right on through it and get done early just like I did. One of the things I've noticed that a lot of people are concerned about is whether or not your kids are going to score well on standardized tests. And of course I can't speak for everyone, I can only speak for myself, but for myself, starting at about junior high, I started scoring 12th grade plus on most of my subjects in the, we took the California Achievement Test. So what that means is that I answered the questions as well as someone who had finished high school would have answered them. So it's not that I could do 12th grade work starting in 7th grade, but that if I had graduated high school already, I would have done as well on that test as I did as a 7th, as I did in 7th grade. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but let me just assure you that I did very well on standardized tests. I had absolutely no desire to go to college beyond high school, so I didn't take any of the testing for college until like 2 years after I graduated, and where I live we don't do the SATs, we do the ACTs. But 2 years after I graduated, my mom thought maybe I should go to college. So I took the ACT without preparing ahead of time because I figured if I did really bad, I would go ahead and retake it. But I ended up scoring 26 on the test out of, I think the range is 1 to 36. So average score on the ACT is a 21, and I got a 26 without any preparation. And it had been 2 years since I'd even cracked a book. So again, I did perfectly fine on these sort of tests after my ACE education. So I did actually go to college for one whole semester. I did not want to go back because again, this is not something that interested me. Now, well, I still wouldn't go to college now, but I love learning. I'm constantly reading and learning all sorts of things, but at the time, this is just not something that I was into, but I did go for one semester. And it's funny because I always felt inferior, which I know is just me. I felt inferior going to an ACE school because I was teased constantly by the public school kids that were dumb because we're going to a Christian school and Christian school kids are dumb, I guess. So I always felt like I was until I went to college. So there was one benefit of going to that one semester. So I had classes with other kids from my town, and I always outscored them. I scored at the top of the class every time, and I actually won a full scholarship to go back if I had chosen to. And so again, going to an ACE school did not hinder my ability to do well in college. I did better than just about anybody else that I knew. And so please put your mind at ease if you are concerned about your kids going to college after they've had an ACE education. And there's always the topic of the military, and it seems funny to even bring this up, that you would not look at me and think I have any military experience, but I guess maybe God allowed all this to happen just so I could make this video someday and tell you about it. So when I was in college, I was literally looking for a job. Like, I was calling places and seeing if they're hiring, and I had been to the Marines recruiting office with a friend, and so I called them looking for a job, thinking like, you know, maybe they needed somebody to clean their office or something. That's what it was in my mind. I was very young and naive and did not realize what was going to happen. So I go in there, and next thing you know, they're recruiting me to go into the Marines, and I did not know what the heck was going on. So I was like, okay, because I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So first they flew me down to Denver, and I took the ASVAB, and I scored well enough on everything to do any job that the military offered. And then they flew me back later because they wanted to test me for doing signals intelligence. So as I understand it, it would have been like code breaking and that kind of stuff. So they had me take this test that was, they kind of made up this foreign language, and I had to listen to it and, I don't know, see which parts followed the rules and which ones didn't. It was a very difficult test. I felt like I was having a mental breakdown by the time I was done. And so I called back to my recruiter because I had to talk to him before I could find out how I did on the test. And he told me that I had actually scored, well, you had to score 100 on the test to pass, and 120 was a perfect score. And my recruiter himself said he got like a 75 on it, and he said that military intelligence, usually people score like a 105, I think was the average score, and I scored a 116 on the test, so I was this close to getting a perfect score. And I ultimately did not go into the Marines, but it is nice to know that even with an ACE education, I did very well in that whole arena of, you know, military and what might have been. Okay, so now on to my experiences teaching with ACE. My husband and I actually ran the school that I graduated from for a while, but I'm not going to talk about that experience because this is specific to homeschooling. So I'll just tell you about my experience as a mom homeschooling my kids with ACE. So the first thing I want to say is that it's very easy for me to juggle lots of different age groups at one time. I know some people, I think, kind of try to lump all the kids together and do things that you can all do together, and I do that on some extra subjects, but when it comes to the core subjects that we use our ACE curriculum for, I really like that everybody's working at their own pace, and I don't have to spend all my time teaching. I'm just here supervising, is what they call it, and when somebody needs me, they come to me and we work through whatever it is, but I don't have to be really focused on one age group at a time. We all kind of work at the same time, and I can be here for everybody, and it just makes life very easy. The second thing I like about ACE is that it's very compact, so it doesn't take over the whole house. The curriculum doesn't, and our books and things don't, which we do have a pretty extensive library, but we don't even have a school room. We have a very small house, and everybody keeps all their stuff in one single binder. If you want to check out my binder videos, they're on my channel. But it doesn't take over the whole place to do our schoolwork. It's a very neat and tidy little package. Number 3 is that my older kids need very minimal attention. So my oldest son, I literally probably spend about 10 minutes a day maybe helping him with his schoolwork, and of course I have to score his tests and things like that, so I'm not counting that work, but the actual hands-on time, the paces teach him, and he does it, and he comes to me when he needs to read me something, or he has to quote something he's memorized, or if he really doesn't get something. But he's very independent, and I really like that he's very independent. And that doesn't mean that we don't spend time together every day, because we are always together, but it's very nice that it doesn't require a lot of my time. And I guess that leads right into number 4, that the kids really learn to be independent workers and to set goals and learn how to kind of what would I say, like control their own time, I guess. And that's something I think is a very valuable skill to learn, because especially when you're a stay-at-home mom, and I hope that my kids are some days entrepreneurs, you have to learn how to schedule your own time and not be dependent on somebody else constantly telling you when it's time to do something. So that's something I really like about how the ACE system works, is it really helps develop those skills. And finally, on the topic of standardized tests, my kids have done both the California Achievement Test and the Terra Nova tests, and they always do above average on the test. So they do perfectly fine on standardized tests. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some PACEs. And I have the 5 core subjects here. We have math, English, social studies, science, and word building. And in case you don't know, the word PACE stands for Packet of Accelerated Christian Education. So that's what they call these little booklets. There are, let's see here, there are 12 PACEs per subject per school year. You'll notice that each one has a little number on it. That number tells you what grade level it is, and I'll put a chart here so that you can see how the grade levels, or what numbers go with what grade level. My kids do between 3 and 6 pages a day per subject. It just depends on how long the PACE is. The younger kids generally do 3 pages per day. Then somewhere in the middle grades, they might have to do 4 to 5 pages a day, and then maybe when they're a little older, 5 to 6. It just depends. So we figure it out based on the total number of pages in a PACE. Like this one has 51. That's an 8th grade math. This is a 1st grade English, and it's got 27. So if she does 3 pages a day, that means that she would finish this whole PACE in 2 weeks, and that means that she would actually be done with this whole grade in 24 weeks at that rate, instead of the traditional 36 weeks that a school year takes. So let's look inside of a PACE. The first page of a PACE has what they call My Goals, and listed always on the first page is everything that is going to be covered in that PACE, the reviews that they're going to do from what they've learned previously, and then all the new stuff they're going to learn. Every PACE has a character trait that is focused on in that particular PACE, and a scripture verse that they learn. They have to memorize that and then say it when they take their test. And then here is the cartoon for responsible in this first page here. Then you'll see here a supervisor initial. Those are where that's assigned to the kids that they need to stop and have me check something, and then I initial it when it's time for them to move on. Those are throughout the PACE, wherever the kids need to have me check something before they can carry on. So in this case, it was that they're supposed to read this first page to me before they go on to the rest of the page. So here Thomas is learning a little bit of geometry in this PACE. Now, I'm not going to go through grade by grade to tell you what is in each subject, but I will show you when I'm done here how to look up ACE scope and sequence on the computer so that you can check for yourself what they cover in each grade. This is first grade English, and again we have read to your supervisor, tells what she's going to be learning in this PACE. There's the scripture verse she'll be memorizing, and her cartoon. I'm not sure what the character trait is in this one. Oh, I see. Let us not judge one another. Someone's a bad singer, but we're not going to judge that person for their bad singing. So all the PACEs have the same basic format, but there's 3 sections of teaching. followed by a checkup. And this is like a little practice test thing for the previous section that they learned. And then they do that. And here she's going to have to fill in her verse with the missing letters. And then there's a score strip at the bottom of the page. This is a social studies pace. This would be 5th grade, I believe. No, 3rd grade. This is a 3rd grade social studies. So he's learning patient in this one. There's some vocabulary words, and then I'm gonna read and let's see, underline the answers. As I said, there's 3 teaching sections followed by checkups. And then, here's a checkup there. The very end of the pace has a self-test. He has to have that initialed before he begins, so I can kind of check over his work and make sure he's ready. And this is just a practice test. And once he's done that, he's got to fill in his verse and then be able to say, it says have your students say the verse by memory, and then check that they know all their vocabulary words before they take the test. So this is a 7th grade word building, which is spelling, and in the middle of every page is the test. That has to be pulled out and set aside for later. So he'll get his test after he does his self-test, and the next day we'll do the test. And in this case, I'm just reading aloud the spelling words and he'd be writing them and then filling in his verse at the end, and then I score it. So this is a 5th grade science pace, and I wanted to show you that there's a science project in here, and a lot of the science paces have science projects as part of the curriculum. There are always things that are easy to do with stuff that you would have on hand, except for sometimes you need a microscope. So if you don't have a microscope, you'd have to skip those, but most of the stuff is easy to do. Then I also wanted to show you here that at different intervals throughout the pace there are score strips, and you actually get a set of score keys that is the same that matches the paces, and the kids score their own work, and then they mark what's wrong, and then they go back and fix it, and then they recheck it to make sure it's right, and of course mom has to check sometimes to make sure they're scoring well. I personally don't have the kids start scoring usually until 3rd grade. I just score for them up until then, but that's another way that kind of makes things very efficient for everybody, because they don't have to wait on me and I don't have to check everybody's work all the time. ACE sells a home educator's kit, I believe it's called, and one of the things that comes in it is this manual here, and it kind of explains all the procedures that you would need to follow, or that I guess this is designed to follow, and it includes in the back let's see here, guidelines for high school too. So if that's something that you want to find out before I ever make a video about it, it does kind of discuss how to do their high school course of study and do the credits and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested, I saw a good video by, I think his name was Timothy Anger, and he actually opens up one of the Home Educator kits and shows all the stuff that's inside of it. So you might want to click on that video. I think I'll put a description, or I'll put a link down in the description below this video, so you can check that out if you're interested in seeing what comes in the Home Educator's kit. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to find the scope and sequence on ACE's website. So you'll see here it's aceministries.com. I believe if you go to schooloftomorrow.com, it also brings you here. And if you go down here to the Downloads tab, click that, and right here you'll see ACE Scope and Sequence. Open that up, and it's a PDF file. You can save it to your desktop if you want to, but it will show you everything that they offer, and what's in each subject. So like here is math, grade 1, and it tells you that they're going to review and learn numbers in symbol, name, and number words from 0 to 10, count and write from 0 to 100, solve simple addition, subtraction, and word problems, and so on. So you get all the way down. We've got, in high school we have algebra, geometry, algebra 2, trigonometry. Let's see, here's English, 5th grade English. They're going to learn about agreement of subjects and verbs, how to diagram sentences, changing verbs from singular to plural, punctuation, writing business and friendly letters, capitalization. So they have every single grade with all the core subjects in here, plus they have literature and creative writing. We personally don't use their literature and creative writing, but that's covered right here, what they do there. We do the basic literature in 7 and 8, and that's just reading books and kind of filling in a little answer sheet as you go. Then we have word building, which is learning spelling and some grammar. Here is what we have for high school social studies. We have geography, world history, American history, U.S. civics, economics, and then science. For high school we have biology, physical science, chemistry, and physics. They also offer Bible reading. We don't use that subject either. We do something different, but they do have Bible reading. And then as far as high school electives for Bible, they have Christian growth, Introduction to Missions, Practical Missions, Life of Christ, New Testament church history, New Testament survey, Old Testament survey. They also have business electives, which I took some of these myself: accounting, business math, general business. And then we have arts, music, speech, computer science, and some government subjects, health, and then French, Greek, and Spanish for languages. Something else helpful would be, let's see, oh, right here, this is what I was thinking. Let's go back here to assessments. Here is where you can take the online diagnostic test, and that tells you exactly where your child would be in their curriculum. So you can do it online, and then it tells you exactly which pace numbers you would need to start in each subject if you wanted to start with them. It also has a link right here at the bottom, and I think that's there all the time. So if you're on the home page, it'll be right there also. Now, if you want to order paces from ACE, you would click on the store, and then they have everything for sale right here on the side. I think you have to have an account with them to order, which I guess is kind of how everyone is nowadays, so you know that's pretty normal. But you click on, here's first grade math, and then you just type in how many you want and then add it to your cart right down here. And then the score keys are available there also, so you would get the same thing here. This would be the kit for the entire first grade year, or you can order them individually right here. I order my paces from christianbook.com. The reason is there's not much of a price difference, but I always can get a free shipping coupon, and so it saves like probably $100 to get them through christianbook.com when I have a free shipping coupon. So once a year I order all my curriculum, and then with free shipping it does save a significant amount of money. So if I were going to order on christianbook.com, I'm not sure if you can just find it somewhere down the side, but I just type it in that I want ACE 3rd grade math. And then it would show you, this would be for all the subjects. You can get the whole kit for the whole year here. Just add that to your cart, or you can pick out the paces individually that you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen again how the numbering system goes, and then you can go ahead and take a look at that diagnostic test and see what you think you might need for your child. And if you have any questions you want answered in another video, go ahead and leave them in the comments so I can make sure to cover everything that I didn't cover in this video. Okay, well, I think that pretty much covers the basic ideas. I think I'll try to do another video in the future about specific questions about ACE, like maybe more about how kindergarten and first grade works, because they're a little different than the rest of the grades, how high school works, you know, with the course of study and all those kinds of things, and what we personally do for electives and some things like that. So maybe you want to subscribe if you're interested in seeing that video in the future. And in the meantime, go ahead and like this one if it was helpful, and we will talk to you about ACE and homeschooling again soon. See you later.